Your iPad is either your biggest productivity hack or your biggest distraction. I'm about to show you how to turn your iPad into a productivity machine. Helps you focus, work faster, and get more done. First things first, we're gonna get into the iPad setup. How you set up your iPad, it varies from person to person. For me, I like minimal, that screams productivity and there's less distraction and all the things. First things first is that you need to have a dedicated Apple ID account for your business, especially if you're a content creator or your business owner and you have an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac mini, or if you have multiple Apple devices. If you want to turn your devices into a productivity machine where it's focused based on what you're doing, then it's really important for you to have that Apple ID. It allows you to access some key features that will be available across all devices, and I'm definitely going to share that as we go along. So let's look at first customizing the home screen that is for focus and it has less distractions. One key point I want to point out when it comes to how I set up my iPad is that I from early on decided that I did not want to have any social media apps on my iPad. The iPad is mainly for productivity purposes, for me to plan, for me to journal, and so having social media apps on my iPad can be a part of a distraction for me. So what I have done, I have simplified my home screen. I have my calendar, I have my verse of the day, and then I have my individual tools that I use on a daily basis. And so I customize this to focus. These are the apps that I use on a regular basis every time I pick up my iPad. I'm either in GoodNotes, I'm in Notability, I'm in Mailer Notes, I'm in Notion, I'm either taking a Zoom call if I'm on the go, I'm on YouTube researching, I'm in Canva designing something, or I'm using Freeform and also having quick access to my passwords, because as you know, having a ton of passwords is a lot of work. When I swipe to the right, I do have like a gallery with some of my photos. I also have my calendar, the weather app, location. This would show me how much time I'm actually spending on various apps on a daily basis and the charge percentage for my various devices. I've designed this one page. Again, I don't like the extraness. I like minimal. So minimal equals productivity for me. All right. So when I swipe to the left, it takes me to the app library where I have an array of access to the other apps. Again, I have load the apps that are needed for this iPad, whether it's my creativity apps, whether it's my productivity and finance apps, how they've categorized it. These are my most recent apps. Because I do wind down and prioritize self-care, I do have 2 games, word search and a puzzle game, and also for entertainment, mostly I use the YouTube app, if anything. Some apps I have disabled and taken off of my iPad because I found it to be distracting. Because I have a newsletter, I have my app that I use for newsletters, which is Substack. And also I have my verse of the day. So this is my minimal setup, and again, I've customized my home screen for focus more than aesthetics. And I know it's contrary to persons who are into digital planning and all the things. One of the main things that I have done to ensure that my iPad is set up for productivity is ensuring that I customize my focus settings. And so for my focus settings, if I go into settings here and I go down to focus, all right, so I have customized some of the focus settings and also added a focus setting for my iPad. And this not only governs my iPad, it governs my Mac mini, it governs my iPhone, and also it governs my MacBook Pro as well. So those devices are the devices that I use within my business, and so they have these focus settings. So I have a do not disturb, and I do have this on between a specific time, and I do allow people to be available throughout this time. I also have a mindfulness focus. This is when I'm planning content, when I am journaling, when I'm planning my week, if I am doing research or whatever the case may be. Now, the catch about this is that I do use the focus setting, but also later on I'm going to show you about the automations. All right, so I'm going to go in a little more to the automation, but when it comes to focus and mindful focus, I just make sure that I have no notifications or app being allowed to notify me of anything. I do have some automation set here. I'm going to go into details with this, and you can also do your focus filters. And then if you see that I have recording on, because this came on automatically because of an action I took either on my iPhone, my Mac Mini, or my iPad. This is currently on. I have reduced interruptions. This is a key feature that Apple has brought out in the last iOS 18 update. And so it's more or less active. So whatever they deem important as a notification, definitely it's going to come through. Then I have my sleep. Listen, being productive, having rest is very important. So I prioritize my sleep. So I cannot sleep properly if my phone keeps dinging or notifications keep coming through from any phone, whether business or whether personal. And so I do have a sleep focus, and it has my sleep schedule already set up on the iPhone. So I have a wind down time, and then this sleep focus is activated across all devices at a specific time. All right. And then I have my work focus, and my work focus, I don't allow calls during a specific time. I also accept notifications through my calendar and also through other apps are either on my iPhone or my Mac Mini. All right. I also have smart activation turned on and all the things. So this is one way of how I actually set up the iPad for productivity by using the focus features that Apple gives to us. All right, so let's get into the recommended must-have apps for productivity. I know this varies again across multiple different businesses. If you're an entrepreneur or you're a content creator, you would be comfortable in various apps, but these are some of the productivity apps that I have loaded into my iPad that I love and helps me to stay one, consistent, two, accountable, and three, productive on a daily basis. So the first thing I have is Notability. Notability is a great note-taking app. This app allows me to do notes, mind dumping, whether I'm doing brain dumps, I'm just scribbling out my thoughts, and so it's a little more focused. Once I turn this on, it's going to activate the mindfulness focus. So how do I know it's activated? If you look here, it's showing that it's either recording or it's going to switch between the two. If I go into the app, it switches from that and it's going to go into mindfulness on. So this is more or less automation coming into play, which I'm going to touch on later on. All right. So I love Notability, and another one that I use is Freeform. Freeform allows me to like do sketches, and also it allows me to kind of do note taking. And I mostly use Freeform for sketches like this because it makes it simpler and it's just less distracting for me versus other apps. I switch between Notability and also Freeform. Next app is GoodNotes. GoodNotes is my go-to app when it comes to digital planning, all things digital planning, as well as using digital planners. I have reduced my carbon footprint inside of my business. I want to deal with less paper. And so I was a girly when it comes to having a yearly planner, and I found it very difficult to find planners that are minimal and designed in a way that is minimal but yet productive and yet keeps me focused. And so too much things on a page makes it distracting for me and it overwhelms me. So that sensory overload, I am not having it. So I do use a planner from a company called Flourish Planners. I love her planners so much because she is a minimal type of designer and I love that about her. And so some of the planners that I use. I do use notebooks in here as well, but her planners are so um, minimal. I have a vision board for the month. I can outline my important dates and reminders. I can plan my entire weeks and also the individual days. And again, I prioritize top priorities, my to do list, daily habits, notes, and also my schedule. I can actually do time blocks. So this is great. It's very minimal for me, it's not overwhelming, and also it keeps me focused. Too much things on an app or a paper. I've tried a lot of digital planners, and some of them are, they're cute, they're aesthetically pleasing, but it was doing too much for me. So GoodNotes is all things digital planning and digital planners. When it comes to organizing projects, tracking goals, and having a central workflow for content, Notion is my baby, right? I think I live in Notion 80% of the day. So when it comes to Notion, I've created an entire content productivity system inside of Notion. I've designed it in such a way where I have an editorial or a content calendar. And in here, I have literally track all of my content over the last 2 years. I've been using Notion for well over 2 years. Notion has really helped me to be productive, to allow me to be consistent because of the system that I have created. And so if you see, this is an example of a typical content calendar for me, where I'm tracking every piece of content that I actually put out. And also this allows me to actually plan out my content in full detail. And I'm not only talking about like video content, I also track my newsletters. If I'm sending out any specific newsletter, I actually track it in here. And sometimes what I like to do, depending on the day or the week, I usually like literally write out those newsletters inside of Notion. Then I take it into my AI software, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini, to proofread grammar, spelling, and all the things before I do the final draft and do all the extra razzle dazzle and fanciness inside of the final email before I schedule and send it out. So Notion keeps me together when it comes to content. Apart from using Notion, I love to use MailerNote. MailerNote has gathered me together with regards to keeping track of client projects. I've been introduced to it for over a year and I love it. Again, simplicity for me sells. So I love simple systems. So I'm not only able to organize my thoughts, I'm also able to track my clients and my projects. And also I'm able to have mini projects inside of my business that I need to focus on for the quarter, for the month, and for the entire year. So between MailerNote and Notions, these are my two highly productivity tools when it comes to organizing projects, tracking goals, and also having a centralized workflow. Last but not least for me is my calendar and reminders. And so my calendar plays an important role. I use the native calendar app inside of iOS 18, and with the new updates, it allows you to use two apps simultaneously and they are syncing together with each other finally, where you can set reminders and also keep track of those reminders inside of your calendar. One of the things that I love about the calendar app is that it allows me to integrate other calendars, whether it's a Google Calendar from the Google Workspace, my Zoom calendar, my inbox or email calendars. I'm able to bring all the calendars in here and I'm able to manage the different appointments that I set both for personal as well as business. All right, so using the calendar and the reminders app, I put in reminders. So in the reminders app, I have like specified reminders. I do have business reminders category as well as a personal category, and I'm able to set reminders, and those reminders are also reflected inside of my calendar as well. So if I go to April, so if you see in here, I do have a annual report due in April. And if I go into the calendar, it's also inside of that calendar. So this is a great way for you to set reminders and have dates. And also for me, these apps within the Apple ecosystem makes everything simple and easy. I don't have to pay for additional subscriptions. I'm using what is already native. All right, so let's talk about digital planning and automation. If I'm not writing what I have to do on a daily or a weekly basis, I am going to forget it. Yes, I want to be totally digital, but also this is why I invested in having the Apple Pencil, because Apple Pencil gives me the option to write and on the iPad, and also I do have a paper-like feel screen protector where it actually gives me that feeling that I'm actually writing on paper, right? So for me, when it comes to digital planning and calendar blocking to structure my day, this keeps me productive and organized, and also I'm able to manage my time more effectively. So when it comes to my digital planners, I like to keep it very clean, and also I like to plan my weeks. So if you notice, I plan my weeks, and again, if it's not written, it never exists. Right? And so I not only plan my weeks, but I also plan my individual days and what I'm actually doing on those specific days, and just ticking off what is being done and what is not being done. So this is how I literally structure my day. Listen, I'm a systems and automation girly, and also I strive in systems and I love automation. I need to put everything that I do on autopilot. So when it comes to automation, the iOS ecosystem does have automation, but a lot of us are not using it, especially if we're content creators or we are entrepreneurs. Especially for my entrepreneurs, automation exists inside of the iOS ecosystem. Now, here is how I use automation. You can use Siri, you can use shortcuts, and they would basically give you the option to automate like key aspects. They have a ton of different options that you can choose from. You can automate certain aspects of your calendar, of reading, if you are using Evernote, if you're writing, there are different recipes or combinations of automation that Apple provides to you. Also, you can have specific app automations through the shortcuts. So if you're using Freeform, what that actually looks like, and the whole 9 yards. All right, so that's one way that you can automate repetitive tasks using shortcuts. All right, now here is how I use automation, and this is, I love it. This is what I love. All right, so if I go into settings and I go down back to focus, inside of focus, I have recording. So throughout this entire video, you might have seen that it's switching between mindfulness and recording. That's because I have automation set. I'm that type of person when I'm ready to record, sometime in the middle of recording a video or in the middle of doing something, their notification might be coming through that and there's a new email or something, and that throws me off some most of the time. So I'm like, okay, how can I use the features that Apple give to make me more productive, and also use automation so I don't have to remind myself to put the devices in focus. So this is where the automation for the focus comes in. So when you go to settings, focus, and let's say I tap on recording, I do have a ton of automation here. So these will turn on based on a specific activity, location, or if an app is open. So I can click add to schedule, and it could be a specific time that it turns on, if I'm in a specific location, or based on a specific app. Now I have a specific app, and so with the recording, anytime I'm using the camera app on my iPhone, or I'm using the DJI Mimo app, or for my computer, if I'm going to use Ecamm, I can do this. So let me show you how it's done. Here we have my Mac Mini. And so with the Mac Mini, I am able to click here, mindfulness, and I can go into focus settings. When I go into focus settings, I'm gonna go into recording, and then I'm gonna go to add schedule, and then I'm gonna go to app, and then I'm going to look for eCam. I'm gonna add to that. And if you notice, if I go out of here and I go back in, notice eCam is also added. So whichever device that I am working on, if I'm in any one of these apps, it will automatically turn on this focus. And I know I love automation. So this is super helpful for me. Why handwriting and digital tools? For me, like I said, I wanted to reduce my carbon footprint and plus also save money. Let's be honest here. But with the other thing too, because I'm always on these different devices, I'm always thinking of ways in which I can make each device productive based on what I'm doing. For me, it's the best combo when it comes to memory and focus, because study shows that once you're writing stuff, especially this is why I love my digital planning and digital planners, because once I'm able to write stuff down, I'm able to remember it, and I needed it to be off of paper. So in this way, I have conditioned my mind for the last 2 years in training my mind that this is actually a book that is never ending, and I'm always writing, I'm always making notes, I'm always jotting down and journaling and all the things. Now that your iPad is optimized for maximum productivity, you'll finally be able to have more productive days, manage your time, manage your projects and all the things without you feeling burned out. Also, let me know in the comments, what are some of your go-to apps with regards to your iPad? How do you actually use your iPad, if it's for relaxation, if it's for digital planning, or you just use it for content creation? Let me know in the comments down below. I will definitely love to hear about them.